January 23rd, 2024. Live streaming from a distant galaxy. This is the world's most controversial podcast, the Doomsy McDoomscroller Show, a philosophical science fiction series featuring realistic futurology and refreshingly heretical commentary on the news. And if you're getting the video feed of this broadcast, you can see I'm just enjoying myself on this hillside by ocean, sunset, and some alien planet. Well, from my helmet cam, it might look like I'm relaxing and enjoying myself, but I'm actually in a spacesuit right now, because as beautiful as this planet looks, it's not like 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen. So really, Earth is quite the precious place for me. And I'm not there. It's going to take me decades to get there. Hence the realistic futurology. Right, there's no concern about the robot apocalypse on this show. As fun as it is to entertain the idea. No, we're talking about how it's game over for civilized culture. There's two C words, well, maybe three C words. There's one which I won't say. There's other two like really big C words. I mean, they're really big. Civilized is one of them, and the other C word is collapse. So that's happening. Let's add a fourth C word. We could say cancel. That's also a C word in play here, because your culture, I'm talking civilized culture, civilized with a capital C, all 8 billion of you, used to be 4 billion, half century before that, 2 billion. So I'm talking all of y'all, east, west, all of you holy war agriculturalists, aka farmers. And yes, you're all farmers. Basically, that's how you all get your calories. All right, we're getting to we're stripping the layers of paint and getting down to the primer of what a people are all about and how you get your calories on the daily. That's one of the most significant things in the definition of a culture. And you all get your calories by way of holy war agriculture. And your warmongering, your pharaoh fostering, it's just not working out for y'all. Not working out for actually any living thing on Earth. And so I doubt sometimes whether I'm in the right universe. Maybe I should jump to a parallel universe. I'm hesitant to do that because I'm not all that good at hopping through the multiverse. But I'm thinking I might stay in this one for a while because this is encouraging, this headline right here. This is from AP MoneyWise something? I don't know. Of course, I find a lot of stuff I comment on. This is from Yahoo, the Yahoo News portal. I guess it's in the finance section. It says here, working my tail end off just to get by. That's a quote. So the headline starts off with a quote. And right from the get-go, you can tell, I mean, this is a complaint. Working my tail end off just to get by. This Walmart worker blasted older Americans for calling young folks lazy, blames them for creating the inflation crisis, ruining the economy. Okay. Now, that's encouraging to see. Working your tail end off just to get by. I mean, how long has that been going on? Okay, yeah, maybe it gets more and more difficult. You can compare economies, what rates of inflation, how much does a dollar buy you now if you're in the US of A, or what, a euro, or whatever your currency is. What's the price of a liter of milk or a loaf of bread or something, right? A dozen eggs. So you can measure things that way. This Walmart worker, okay, this is in the headline. She blames them. She blames the older Americans. She blames them for creating the inflation crisis and ruining the economy. And doesn't like that older Americans are calling young folks lazy. Right? And I think it's okay to complain about work. I mean, this is Doomsday, right? I'm just chilling. You can see that I don't do much work. I mean, every time you see me, I'm just flying around, and that's because I'm not part of civilized culture anymore. I talk about your culture. Unfortunately, for me to extricate myself from the dominant culture on Earth, I had to leave the frickin' planet. Because you holy war agriculturalists are everywhere. So that's not me anymore. So I'll tell you, I enjoy life without work. I think really that's how humans became humans. Actually, let's be more accurate there, okay? How did wolves become wolves? By living in packs. How did lions become lions? By living in prides. How did gazelle become gazelle? By living in herds. How did Homo sapiens become Homo sapiens? Where's that question? Where's that chapter? Where's that just even one session of study in a biology class or anthropology class or biological evolution class, or any science class? When is that ever mentioned? The answer to that. Wolves became wolves by living in packs. Humans became humans by living in tribes. Not by living in a socio-economic hierarchy. That wasn't part of it. It wasn't. So this younger person wants to complain about work, just getting by, working tail end off. Or I would say working my ass off just to get by. Well, you want to blame? Okay. Yeah, you can blame. Every generation can blame the generation older than them, the previous generation. But let's be accurate. Let's get to the heart of the matter. We gotta get to the root of the problem. Ruining the economy. Okay, let's address that. This older generation ruining the economy. I would say the economy is all about ruining the earth. That's what your economy is based on. Ruining the earth. You've been doing it for 10,000 years. You're still doing it. So ruining the economy. When has the economy ever been that great? There's always been. It's poverty. People just struggling. Massive amounts of suffering. Excessive suffering. It's got excessive. Suffering is just part of life, because there's loss is part of life, and that entails suffering. But there's just excessive amounts of suffering by humans and all other creatures, non-human animals. So you have an economy that's hell-bent on ruining the earth. So you want to blame the older generation for ruining the economy. Let's include the generation before that, and the generation before that. Okay, you got to go back all the way to the Fertile Crescent. And I encourage that you do. Because those psychopaths, they definitely deserve blame. You know who I'm talking about, right? The agricultural revolution. That's what they call it, right, in the history books. You take that class. Okay, they're to blame. They get the original blame. They're the ones who started the economy that you're in. I'm not talking about capitalism. Because capitalism, communism, socialism, Marxism, whatever ism you have in a civilized economy, you got your socioeconomic hierarchy. You got your masses of peasants, commoners, at the bottom dragging the heaviest stones, and then you got a middle class of nobility, kind of, and then the royals at the top. Nowadays, you got about a million? You say a million. There's a million neo-pharaohs now on Earth. A million. So let's get to the basis, the economy, civilized economy, not American economy or Chinese economy or really it's minutia, trivial, the details, the differences. It really is. So ruining the economy, your economy has always sucked. Pyramid building, warmongering, pharaoh fostering, that's your economy. And you want to say that it's ruined. Well, go back. You got to go back to the Fertile Crescent, the agricultural revolution. Like I was saying. And by the way, that title is bullshit. It's bullshit. It's not a lie. It's not a lie, because the people who tell you that it was the agricultural revolution, the people who tell you that, they don't know the truth. Or they're not aware of it. They're not cognizant. They aren't sharing that knowledge. But it's there. I mean, you ask the experts, what happened there in the Fertile Crescent? It used to be thought, yeah, that was the beginning of agriculture. But now we know, no, it wasn't. I mean, that was just 10,000 years ago. Homo sapiens been around for 300,000 years. 300,000 years! So, much farther back than 10,000 years ago, you can bet humans had figured out what a seed does. Or I think sprout from the ground. Where new life comes from. Encouraging the regrowth of their favorite foods. That wasn't too difficult for anatomically modern human beings to figure out and share that knowledge amongst each other. So, agricultural revolution? No, it wasn't agriculture. Agriculture was developed thousands of years prior to what happened there in the Fertile Crescent. Long before Cain, the metaphorical Cain killing the metaphorical Abel. Long before. So what was it? It was a specific kind of agriculture that started there in the Fertile Crescent. That started your economy. So you can say, well, this administration or this era, the economy was this, or the economy was ruined, or the Great Depression, or are we going to have a recession, or the economy was ruined. Your economy has always been about ruining the earth. It's always been about ruining the earth. By way of, warmongering versus Earth directly, trying to conquer it. And of course, the wars you have between each other cause further destruction and suffering. I mean, your economy has never, ever been about fairness. Pyramid building has nothing to do with fairness. What y'all had on Earth prior to civilized culture was, well, some people called it paradise. Those people, they ended up being murder victims by the first Holy War agriculturalists. Because that's what farming is. Let's just be accurate. I mean, you could encourage the regrowth of your food to any kind of degree. But civilized folk, y'all don't do that. You don't stop there. You frickin' wage war. Anything that competes for the production of your food, you work your asses off to eliminate it from the face of the earth. And you think you can just willy-nilly as much as you want. It's huge. Have you seen those photos from the 1950s or 40s, I think? The huge tankers driving down the beach, just spraying DDT. Your weapons of mass destruction. But this is encouraging, this article, this headline. Complain about work. Working is not natural. It's not a natural thing. Never has been. And it's certainly not fair. Nothing about your economy is fair. It was never meant to be fair. How could a culture that's at its core, at its very heartbeat, at the pulse of the culture, runs the proclivity for genocide and slavery? We're talking about Americans here in this article, a Walmart worker. obvious. Even if you flunked your history class, you probably got enough info out of that to know that the United States was built upon genocide and slavery. Well, I got news for you. That goes back 10,000 years. That wasn't some new thing that happened on North America just a couple centuries ago. That wasn't some new methods by Holy War agriculturalists to expand. No, farmers expanded across North America or South America just like they expanded everywhere in the globe since the quote-unquote agricultural revolution. That was a religious revolution, by the way. It had nothing to do with technology. It had nothing to do with evolution. It was religion. It was the civilized worldview. That's what your culture is. I mean, that's what every culture is based on, like a worldview and like the story that people tell each other and their children and about their place in the world and what it means to be human. Every culture has that. In your culture, it views itself as planet conquerors. You took that upon yourself, the progenitors of civilized culture. Fancied themselves gods, or at least imaged as gods. So you got to go back more than just the older generation for creating an inflation crisis and ruining the economy. The economy's always sucked for the vast majority of people. I'm talking globally, but even in the US of A, say, how long have people been working their tail end off? Huh? How long? How long has that been going on? Is that something new? Thankfully, well, what's a good sign for doomsday anyway, since I'm trying to get back to Earth, should I stay in this universe? Thankfully, I see more and more complaining about it by younger folks. They aren't lazy. They aren't lazy. They're just expressing themselves honestly. Because honestly, pyramid building sucks. Pharaoh fostering, it sucks. And the only reason you do it is because you believe it's in your DNA. Your cultural mythology convinces you that pyramid building, having millionaires, having royalty, that's what it means to be human. Waging war versus the earth, conquering the earth, looking at a forest and saying, you know what, all this diversity of life I see before me, it should be one plant. All of this, all these other creatures and life forms and beings and plants and animals, all of it should be gone and replaced with soybeans or wheat or rice, whatever. That's y'all. That's what you've been doing for 10,000 years, waging war. So your economy is about ruining the earth. You thump your chest and think yourself some superior species. And think, you're supposed to do that. You're just doing what you're supposed to. But you also know it sucks. And so you describe yourselves as punished planet conquerors. Why is that? Why would people who fancy themselves like gods and able to conquer planets and in the image of gods, Why would people have such a story that they're punished? Why would that be in the story? Because that story was originally told by murder victims. Your story, you think, is from you, originate from your culture. It didn't originate from civilized culture. I'm talking about the story in Genesis now. That story did not originate from y'all, not from your forefathers, not from your ancestors, not from the progenitors of civilized culture, not from anybody in civilized culture. The roots of that story originally came from murder victims. People being massacred by holy war agriculturalists. That's why in the story, the farmer is the one who's the jerk, is the murderer. That's why the gods favored the other brother. Because it was them telling the story. It wasn't farmers who told that story. It was farmers doing the murder and the killing. You know, murder, that's the hallmark. Murder is the hallmark of civilization's expansion. Talking civilization with a capital C. I know you think that's some unsaleable concept because you equate it with humanity, but it's really not. It's just a sound that represents what you people do. And what do you people do? You ruin the earth. Because you think you're conquerors. You have this delusion of grandeur. And you make life suck for yourselves, for the vast majority of y'all, and everyone else. So you can blame the older generation for ruining the economy. But you got to add a few more generations. You got to go much farther back. Imagine an economy. And this is an economy. Doom's about to describe an economy for you Americans, okay? That was existent on the land upon which you live now. I'm going to describe an economy that was existent there for thousands upon thousands of years, but with no depressions, no recessions. In this economy, it had product exchanges. People made stuff. People traded stuff. But that wasn't the basis for their economy. It wasn't. Accumulation of stuff for the vast majority of people, for the vast majority of human history, the accumulation of stuff wasn't a thing. And there were certainly no pharaohs. There was no upper class, there was no middle class. It was an egalitarian society. So that's what existed there in North America. That was the economy. The economy was, as soon as you were born into a tribe, you had security. All the way till your last breath. Cradle to grave. Cradle to grave security is what the tribe offered y'all, what the tribe offered us humans. And that's what was there on that landmass that you Americans are living on now. That's what you had. That was the economy for a dozen thousand years, 17,000 years maybe. The most important exchange wasn't products. The exchange was energy. It was support. Give support. You get support. You do everything to support the tribe because the tribe supports you. And it didn't matter how much stuff you had. Producing more food. There's no reward for that. Nobody ever feared losing a job. How about that for an economy? No one ever fearing losing a job for thousands upon thousands of years. You have to say it's an economy. How is it not an economy? Especially if there were exchanges of products happening. Now, that's how we define economy. That's not how they defined economy. They exchanged products, but that wasn't, they didn't have the word economy. But the dynamics of their societies had nothing to do with any one person or group of people accumulating stuff. Producing increasing amounts of food, always generating surpluses, doing everything you can to increase your population. That's what you're all doing over there in the Fertile Crescent. While people had an economy in North America that didn't include prisons and judges and lawyers and cops. No cops. And you want to comment like, oh, it was a savage time, Doomsy. Oh yeah, so you just walk through your cities nowadays without any fear at all, huh? Gee, people don't even need to leave their house to be afraid. Stay home and be afraid. I'm not saying there's not good reasons to stay home and be afraid. This is what y'all created. This is your culture. This is what civilized people do. This is what you do. So she can blame the older generation for ruining the economy, but the civilized economy is based on ruining the earth. And never had any, not even an inkling towards fairness in any society of your culture. How could it? How could it? I heard, I think Rachel Maddow yesterday or today talking about the rise of authoritarianism in America, and talked about how it shouldn't be that surprising because it's throughout history. And she's like, well, but democracy is hard. Yeah, Rachel, yeah, democracy's hard. But go farther back. Authoritarianism, it's baked into the cake. It's never coming out. Every civilized nation in the world has at its foundation genocide and slavery. You can come up with constitutions. You can have laws, bills of rights. You can do all this stuff to make people think that pyramid building ain't so bad. That maybe there's some fairness there. Maybe you can accumulate more stuff, work hard, drag more stones, maybe get your own pyramid built, become a pharaoh yourself. Like equal opportunity. Yeah, equal opportunity. Any chance you can use the word equal? There's no equality. There's no equality. Yeah, rich folk, blasting themselves off into orbit, joyrides. The uber wealthy, they're meeting somewhere like they do annually, and they're saying tax us more. How bad is it for people when the pharaohs have to say, "Oh, okay, we'll share a little bit"? Because really, what's it going to do? How is their lifestyle going to be affected at all? It won't. Not in the slightest. Not in the slightest. And is it going to change anything? They get taxed more. Even if you try to minimize the amount of corruption in any particular government. Maybe you can have these programs and these social programs and these social programs. You're still going to have more plastic than fish in the oceans in a couple few decades. Most of the Earth's forests will be gone 20, 30 years. You're at 30% now. 30% of forests gone. So ruining the economy, you can blame the older generation for ruining the economy. But your economy, it's done. It's over. It's over. You got a couple decades at best. Oh, a couple, maybe a few. I'll give you a few. What did the physicists say? I think the physicists say between 2 and 4 decades. There's a 90% chance of complete total collapse of economies due to deforestation. They were not looking at global warming. I mean, that's a whole other can of worms, or an empty can of worms, because you're looking at 4 degrees, 5 degrees rise in temperature. 90% of marine life gone. Look what one little virus did to your supply chains, your precious, fragile supply chains. How about seafood going away and the timber industry shutting down? That's why people are looking at Baal. The Doomsday Show is mostly for those who are aware of the elephant in the room and just aren't used to talking about it. Right? And kind of that's the C word, the collapse. But there's another degree of awareness, and that's, what's collapsing? What is necessarily doomed? Because humanity is not necessarily doomed. Homo sapiens existed for 300,000 years before Holy War agriculture. 300,000 years. And in just 10,000 years of farming, waging war versus Earth, just 10,000 years, you got the ecosystem, brought to its knees as far as large mammals are concerned. So your legacy will soon, what are you going to have left in a couple of centuries? The only evidence of humans, if you continue, if you push civilized culture as far as it can go, in a couple hundred years or so, by the time Doomsday gets back to Earth, aside from the shape of the continents I can see on the planet, if it wasn't for that, the only way I'd know it was Earth would be all the cigarette butts, plastic, concrete. I suppose we're talking, that would be like 1 million years in the future, right? It'd be pretty obvious I'd made it back to an Earth with extinct humans if I make it there in a century or so. But this is good news. So Doomsday's gonna stick in this particular universe. We still work to get back. Gen Z, you keep complaining. Work is not natural. Burning calories to survive. The expenditure of energy in an organism, that's natural. But working, dragging stones, building pyramids, producing ever-increasing food surpluses, fostering pharaohs, that's not necessary. You don't have to do that. It's perfectly natural to complain about it. Gen Z, you are not lazy. You're not. You're not. For 300,000 years, nobody had jobs. Nobody feared losing a job. Nobody had to go to work. You just, whatever energy you burnt that day, whatever, that was just living. That was just life. Hunting and gathering, foraging, crafting. You had fashion. You had dinner parties. You had some fights sometimes, but you didn't have these friggin' all-out wars. You didn't need prisons. You didn't have cops. You didn't have jobs. You didn't have jobs. You didn't have to stress and say someone's ruining the economy. That economy, for 300,000 years, humans had economies all around the globe. Humans had economies that couldn't be ruined. Oh, sure, there could be a drought or something. But then you pack up and you go. Go where there's water. Go follow the animals. Follow the food. And the accumulation of stuff, the accumulation of food, that food wasn't, if there was less of it, that didn't mean your economy was ruined, because your economy wasn't based on accumulation of food or any other kind of stuff. So if there was a drought or whatever conditions, environmental conditions, might have stressed all the large mammals in an area, in a region, it didn't ruin the economy because the tribe still existed. People still had support from the tribe and still supported the tribe. It was impossible to ruin those economies. So, inflation crisis, ruined economy. Yeah, older generation, sure, why not? Blame them. But you got to blame the generation before that, and you got to go all the way back to the Fertile Crescent. Because your economy sucks. It's based on ruining the earth. And it's not necessary. And it's not going to be around for much longer. It's just not. I don't know if you're collapse aware or not. But the good news about being aware of the collapse, you should also be aware of the revolution that's happening. It's right now. It's happening right now. before Doomsday ever left the Earth, there was already, before I left the Earth, I mean, there was at least 1 million other people who had a similar perspective, similar attitude as Doomsday. I got it from them. And I didn't really even get it from them. They just pointed out what was obvious to me. If someone pointed it out, then, oh yeah, now it's obvious. Otherwise, the mythology of civilized culture is just invisible. It's like right under your nose, in your face, in your place, in your space. And it makes it invisible. It's virtually undetectable. Because you're just bombarded by it as soon as you exit the womb. So, it's not something that you have to have. The economy is not going to last. So be ready. So when Gen Z starts complaining, Gen Alpha has every right to complain. What kind of baton are you going to hand off to Gen Alpha? To Gen Z? To Gen Beta? Oh, here you go. Oh, by the way, most of the forests are gone. And there's more plastic than fish in the ocean now, but it's all up to you now. Good luck choosing those imams and bishops and senators and prime ministers and CEOs. It's all up to you. Good luck. The economy's ruined. So for ruining the economy, a lot of people feel the economy. Okay, that's an indictment, right? I mean, you've been at it 10,000 years. You still can't get it right. Y'all suck at planet conquering. You are never going to be successful. Ever. Can't conquer a planet. So yeah, the economy's ruined. They bail on it. The economy's going to be over, and that's the good news. That's the good news. Because there were way better economies. And economies couldn't be ruined. Well, I guess genocide and slavery. That could ruin those economies. That ruined the economies on North America that existed for thousands and thousands of years. For thousands and thousands of years, homelessness was not a societal ill in North America. For thousands of years. You Holy War agriculturalists get there and practically overnight. And that's coming to an end. So when Gen Z, when Gen Alpha, encourage anybody to complain about this. And realize that it's unfixable. You know, the corruption, it's never going to be fixed in any government. Taxes and regulations is never going to do the trick. Never will. No matter what, you're always going to have the socioeconomic hierarchy. You're always going to have something that sucks for the masses. That's something that's, even if you have a bunch of the masses, are saying, well, let's be happy. Let's embrace anti-consumerism. Okay, I mean, maybe they aren't complaining. It's still unfair. It's unfair to them, and it's unfair to all the fish in the lakes and rivers who have to swim in your filth. 51% of lakes and rivers in America impaired is the official word. toxic, poisonous, health hazard. And that's what you got. So be glad that it's going to be over, and encourage anybody to complain about it. And know that you don't have to go through the effort, this unimaginable effort, right? This huge, overwhelmingly difficult task it would be to fix things. Right? To fix the corruption in these governments. You don't have to fix it. It's unfixable. Just go to something else. Just total that car on the insurance policy. Just don't take it to a repair shop. They won't even have it assessed. Photo is good enough. Look at that thing. Nope. Ain't no fixing it. Go get a new one. And that's what y'all are going to do. That's what y'all are already doing. All right. Questions, comments, opinions. You want your voice heard? Want me to answer criticism, anything you got? Maybe my producers will send it to me. I don't know. Just go to www.doomsymcdoomscroller.com.